Hello, how are you? Popping in today to talk about this energy that I've felt rising personally because of the seasonal shift that is starting to occur and also my idea shifts and apparently the collective shift that seems to be happening. I am enjoying seeing this feeling of unity coming to the forefront right now. It's very exciting. And here's the thing. I think to times when people have just naturally come together to celebrate, and there is so many times through the year that we can do this typically, and it's not been something we've been able to experience a whole lot over the last few years. And as I've been thinking about how my own personal energy has been rising, I see this collective shift happening in certain circles where people are looking towards possibility. I think people are wanting to shift into a place where they feel they want to grow and do something beautiful with their life. And this is why I'm in this work of helping women with their self-care and their wellness, because when you are truly tuned in to your soul, how you're personally feeling in your body, you can nourish that so that you can be of greater service to the world in whatever capacity you are meant to be. And it's the most beautiful thing for me to see when I see a woman stepping into that. And I'm grateful for the collective that I'm a part of women and men who are doing beautiful things, who are sharing who they are and their offerings with the world, the things that they have to share to help make life better, easier, more joyful, more nourishing, more enriched, and more abundant. And, over the last bunch of years, I always talk about the various adversities that I've come through. And I know that everyone is coming through different things all the time. And I'm often asked, though, how are you so joyful? Where does this optimism come from? Why do you seem to find it so easy to just coast through these things? And of course, it's not always easy. And when I'm sharing my experience and talking about it, it's when I've come through it to a place where I feel a level of comfort, a level of, having learned some lessons and having made peace with some things. And for example, today I had a very emotional moment this morning that kind of caught me off guard. And I wondered, whoa, where are all these tears coming from? It's a beautiful sunny day. Beautiful things are happening in my life. And I realized I'm coming up to the 2-year anniversary of my father's passing. And there was a very tumultuous thing that, impacted our relationship in the final few years of his life. And I was coming to terms with some things that I hadn't really thought of. And it's kind of a new level of understanding of the situation. And I believe that pain is part of the transformation process. And as I look back at many other things, and perhaps you can as well, you look at those dark times and you wouldn't want to go through them again, but the gifts that you receive having come through those times are profound, and you wouldn't have been able to learn those lessons in any other way. And so that was what was happening today. And so I had this moment and I just allowed it to flow. I didn't shut it down. I allowed myself to feel it. I got curious about the experience I was having. And in doing that, that's how the healing takes place. And in my work with nutrition and the female wellness journey that we are on, and my journey through perimenopause, I'm grateful for all the lessons through the various stages of my cyclical life, as well as my life as a woman, a married woman, a mother, a teacher, a coach, all of these things, now a podcaster. There's all these segments of learning that come through, and there's always new lessons to share. And one thing I've learned from the health perspective, which is really beautiful, nothing is wasted. Just like in nature, nothing is wasted, right? The falling leaves create compost for the earth to nourish it so that new life can emerge. Well, in my tears and your tears as a woman, your tears actually release estrogen that is not required in your body anymore. So excess estrogen is released through your tears. So there is even more of a purpose to those times when you are feeling teary. And I just want to say hello to the people who are joining us. And yes, you are so right. Yes, for all those tears and times, like they're so impactful in our life. And as I was thinking about what to share today, it was really about, so where does this joy come from? How does it emerge? How is it sustained? For me, the only way my joy is able to be sustained is from fully feeling the dark times, the sadness, the disappointment, and yeah, even the fear. It's all part of it. We are a mixture of all the different emotions. There is darkness and there is light. There's day and night. There's winter and summer. And of course, then the in-between, the spring and fall. And like spring and fall are kind of how I look at them in our emotional life. It's like those times when things are pretty good. Nothing's too upsetting. Nothing's too majorly exciting. Things are just status quo and it's good. We're good. And the summer is like that exciting time. And then the winter is the time of either rest or maybe depletion or maybe sadness or darkness. And again, that's where the lessons rise. Like you've heard the term, a seed is planted in the dark, but then it's nourished and waters and it grows into a beautiful flourishing plant or a mighty oak tree or a mighty redwood, those are amazingly beautiful. So there's so many metaphors with nature, of course, and us being on this journey in the planet with all of our surroundings, with our beautiful nature surroundings and the animals and food and all of the things that are just their source energy that we are a part of. We get to turn to some of these things when we are going through difficult times. And the joy that I feel may be partially just a natural thing. It might just be in my nature. And yet, as I will share in future episodes and future times together, I will let you know there were some really challenging times, like many of us have faced in my very young life, trying to make sense of certain things, trying to make sense of relationship between my parents, and really what now I look at and understand as a mental health problem with my father. And it was a problem in that there were times that, he couldn't get out of bed, and my little 3-year-old self didn't understand why my dad couldn't play with me. And then things grew and I developed a beautiful relationship with him and both my parents. I had in many ways, a very beautiful childhood, and there's so many gifts from that, and I'll go into that some other time. But what I'm saying is those were the times that I think my young self learned how to find something to lighten the mood. That was always my default. Make them laugh, make them smile, give them a hug, whoever, let's lighten the mood, let's make it feel better, because that was what I wanted to do. I wanted everyone to feel good. And that has been my pattern in my life. And so it's kind of a natural default for me, no matter what may be going on. And it's usually in the darkness, in the quiet. It's in my alone times where those feelings will flow like they did today. So something in my awareness that I've gotten good at, as I've come to understand this process, as I've had some self-awareness, some reflection, is, okay, I need to talk about it, in a safe space. And so I was able to share a little bit about what my experience was with my son, my teenage son, not to burden him or anything, but just to share, well, why are my eyes red right now? Okay, well, I'm going to tell you why. You don't need to worry about anything. Everything's good. And I'm working through some emotions. And I love having these open conversations with my sons, because particularly young men, everyone does, but particularly young men need to learn how to face and sit with their emotions in order to be able to develop into the full, beautiful humans that they are as they're growing. Many of the challenges in the world, I believe, can be healed by having whole humans coming together, rested, well-fed, well taken care of, loved, nurtured humans. And it begins with us nurturing ourselves and reparenting ourselves, as I was talking about on this week's podcast with Carrie Kugler. If you haven't listened to that episode, go listen to episode 153. It was really beautiful. It was about being an aligned woman and tapping into your feminine power source. And even if you're not female identifying, there's so much to learn about people who are in a different gender category than you and how they process. This is another thing I'm always teaching my boys. Everything I go through, I typically would like to share the little tips with them because I know it's not all being shared in mainstream education or even media. Perhaps we'll see more of it. I don't know. But these are things that I wish I knew when I was younger. And sharing that these are some of the things that women will experience at times. And hopefully it's part of creating a more conscious, kind, and compassionate future with our young people. And so all of that to say, I believe all of us have the ability to, once we are self-aware, to make that time to be with ourselves, to really mine through some of those emotions, see where they're rooted, and work through those in order to create a new story for what's possible. To be able to, instead of living a mundane or very fearful life, to focus on those things that we truly desire. Focus on the life we want to experience. The things that we want to do to be a blessing to others. And those things also just that make us joyful, that light us up. If something is calling to you that you want to do, but you don't feel worthy of it, or you feel like it's frivolous, if it's some creative experience you want to have, or if it's just something that doesn't seem like it has an end point or a specific purpose, maybe the purpose is just for some joy for you. Maybe it is an outlet for you to use your own gifts, to discover something new about yourself, and to bring in a new layer of your personality. And in doing so, it just feels really good. And then you get to feel better as you're going about your day and hopefully impacting those around you in a more positive way as well. And in my journey, what underpins all of that is my faith walk, my spirit walk. I've always said I'm a Jesus follower, and that's my foundation. And I'm grateful for all of the people in my life who may share different spiritual practices. And I know that having that connection is really what the reason why I do what I do. I want to be of service, and I want my life to be of service. And so with that, I hope that you go into the weekend focusing on those things that bring you joy, focus on what you want, and I hope that you make space for those things and maybe think about what are some things that I'd like to explore in my world, something new, something to shift your thinking, something to expand your capacity for joy and for expecting better things. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And I will see you again next week. Big blessings.